know nobody wants to go out in this horrible weather, but in the absence of Supervisor Mathis, I'll call the Township Board to order. And would you still stand for the prayer and pledge? Mr. Gopal?
Lord, we are meeting here today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being the source of our guidance tonight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do the roll call. Lorraine?
Present.
Shoemaker? Present. Mathis is absent. Krug is present. Kessler?
Here.
Gopal?
Here.
Tucker?
Present.
In Supervisor Mathis, we need to appoint a temporary chair. I need a motion, please.
Move Bob Krug to be clerk.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Just to let the public know that tonight's meeting will be recorded. So if you want to address the board, please give us your name. But if you wish, you don't have to give us your address or anything like that. So approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none. All in favor of the agenda? Motion?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. The next is the meeting minutes of July 25th, the regular and workshop meetings. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, the minutes will stand as presented. Expenditures. Need a motion to approve the expenditures in a total of $950,864.13.
So moved.
Support. Is there any questions on any of the individual invoices or?
Almost there.
Okay,
Trustee
need a
Tucker.
roll call.
With
Mr.
your
Broker,
move, you
please.
did check every. Okay.
Krug,
Yes.
Mathis is absent. Kessler,
Here.
Shoemaker, yes. Gopal,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Motion carries.
It's yes.
You're having too much fun down there. Could you go
He's still
sit
golfing.
between them, Amanda?
He's still golfing.
Moving right on, the first business tonight is the public hearing for Lake Valley Road Improvement Special Assessment District. And we're hearing on a special assessment roll. We did have public input last week, but if there's anyone that really needs to say anything about it.
This is a public hearing.
I'm sorry, I got it confused. This is the public hearing. So is there anyone that would address the board? We've had a lot of these lately. If you'd come up and just give us your name, sir.
Hi, I'm Dave Nance from, I live on Lake Valley Drive. And so my questions are, some that have probably been addressed before, but some current concerns are, I received the letter, the notice of this meeting, and it stated the amount in there at the 778,862. And what are the implications if there's cost overruns? This has probably been addressed before, but I want to see what it is going into the latter stages of the project, of approval of the project.
Well, if the costs exceed the amount on the roll, there are two possibilities, and a decision hasn't been made. One, we can revise the roll and assess that equally amongst all the properties in the district, or the township could absorb the cost if it feels that it can financially. Probably depends. Ideally, when I attended the pre-construction meeting Friday, and it was made very clear to the contractors that we're not expecting cost overruns. Now, if there are surprises, there may be things that are unavoidable. Hopefully, they'll be minor. So there is no absolute answer to who's going to pay for it. It's going to be either the township or the residents, or maybe a combination.
So there's no mechanism in the plan so far to handle it by means of X, whatever the case. It's just if it comes up, then it's an issue we have to deal with.
If something comes up during construction, the road commission has engineers on site. They will review and they'll make the decision. So the contractor can't say, well, we're just doing this. It's only if it's approved.
Okay, and so they've been having to get all amounts approved thus far and through the road commission.
Right, the only amount they have right now is what they bid.
Right.
The Zito construction was the low bid of, I think, 5 bids. And so that is the contract amount, and hopefully it will stay there.
Okay. Because there's probably the topic of the issues that have gone on in certain parts of that roadway where the underground water and what have you. I'm not looking to open that back up. But that's just our concerns that, well, one of the potential overruns could easily be triggered by something like that. That's what we're worried about, because we saw that happen across the street from us, and it wasn't pretty. So that's our major concern with costs.
Understandable, but I think in conversations with the contractor and the road commission engineers, I think they've got a pretty good plan for what they're going to do. They're very confident that when it's done, it's going to be exactly what it's supposed to be.
Okay. And then secondly, what is the easement, or what are the plans for equipment up and onto our lawns? I know that such construction jobs will take a lot of moving stuff around and what have you. What's the general plan of the contractors on how to handle
I
their
don't
equipment?
believe they've obtained any temporary grading permits, which means they don't expect to be outside the right-of-way, which is probably 66 foot. Probably, if it's a 66-foot right-of-way, it's 33 feet from the center line. So the front edge of what everyone considers their yard is probably right-of-way. But if they don't go outside that, there shouldn't be an issue.
Right, but so it's potentially they could potentially park equipment up on the beyond the curb, which
Beyond
is
the
saying
curb,
30,
yes.
33 feet from the center of the road.
The utilities are beyond the curb.
Right.
And so they're going to be in there. So yeah, there'll be some restoration needed at the end, but as far as being up beyond the right-of-way, I don't expect that.
If lawns are disturbed up to the curb, is it the obligation of the contractors to come back and repair those?
I don't know that. I will have to find that out.
Okay. It's interesting. It'd just be unfortunate if things were left a mess once they've completed the project.
They
Yeah,
you
I don't
know,
wanna- I don't
again,
wanna-
the right of way,
Not sure.
you understand what that means?
Yes.
It's technically theirs, but any construction, I don't want to say any, but most of them around here, they always, get it back to as good a shape as it's going to be. And I've had it on my road,
Yeah.
and they tore my entire yard up and before I was on the board here, so, but I mean, it's, they finished it nicely.
Okay.
I've never seen an issue where it wasn't done,
Okay.
okay?
And then, pardon my ignorance on the subject, are the curbs remaining, or are they reconstructing the curbs, the concrete curbs?
I believe any curbs that are in good enough condition to stay are staying.
Okay.
And any that need to be, because I walk through there a lot, so I know there's both.
Right.
And they'll be replacing those that need to be replaced.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Do they have a start date yet for that, or?
I'm glad you brought that up. I found out at the pre-construction meeting Friday, they actually wanted to start today. And I told them they couldn't because we hadn't confirmed the role or authorized the bond issue. But if all goes well tonight and it's all approved, they will be starting tomorrow. So that was a surprise. The original word I had was they weren't awarding the contract until August 16th, starting construction sometime within 10 days after that. I found out Friday they'd already approved it at the road commission, and the contractor is ready to go. So, yes, sir.
My name's Danny Tipton, and I live on Lake Valley Drive. The letter I received, which I was up at the first meeting, and the letter I received here, it says that $12,768.23 will be spread over 15 years. Well, that don't include interest.
That's correct.
Well, then why did the letter come out for people that's not attending the meeting that $12,700 will be spread over 15 years, when in actual it was about $23,000?
Well, the letter actually has to follow a certain format to comply with Public Act 188. Right now, what we're doing tonight is approving the principal amount, and the resolution would also approve the interest to be equal to 1% over the average interest of the bond sold, which hasn't occurred yet, so we don't know what that interest rate will be. But I know the preliminary information that Mrs. Seibert circulated included an estimated payment with interest. So it certainly has been communicated that there will be interest unless someone pays it off attached to these.
Well, the letter should have put down here plus interest over a 15-year period, instead of just acting like it was $12,700 over 15 years, you know, because that's a heck of a lot more money. You know, you're talking instead of being almost $1,000, you're talking almost $2,000 to $3,000 per year.
No, it's not that high.
Oh, it's $23,000. It's
No, it's not going to be that high.
well, I came up to the first meeting and they give us a interest rate plus the $12,000 of $24,000, I believe it was.
I can pull up the sample here. Here.
Do you have an amortization table on your phone? Should be easy to figure out. Do a 15-year AM on $12,000.
Okay, the total interest over 15 years is only $3,700.
Yeah. I was gonna say 4,100.
That's at 4%, which is our estimate, because we think the bonds are going to sell around 3%.
Well, that was not what I was given up here in the first meeting. It was a heck of a lot more than that, spread over 15 years.
Now,
So the total altogether would be $16,000 as of right now?
about 16.4 roughly, if 4% ends up being the interest rate.
It's under $4,000.
Okay, and also there've been some homes sold around the area.
Yes.
What if it was only approved by 51%?
Actually, it's over 53%. But once the district was created, change of ownership does not change the fact that the district was created. The new owners were notified of this hearing. I think there were 4 properties that in the district that changed ownership since the district was created. They were all notified of this hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board?
I just wanted to clarify, originally we were told we were being assessed per household, and the letter states we were being assessed per parcel of land, per parcel in the district. I've got 2 parcels that's homesteaded. I just want to make sure I'm not going to get assessed twice, once for each parcel.
What's your last name?
Meisner?
Both parcels are buildable, so both parcels are assessed.
Even though it's homesteaded.
Yes, that's the way it was presented in the
That's not
beginning.
what I was told originally.
That's not what she specifically said it was per house.
No, 'cause
Regardless of the size of the lots. Or,
if they were combined as one parcel at the time, then that would have been done. But if they're 2 separate parcels, that's the benefit. The vacant parcel is benefiting equally, even though there isn't a home today. There's still benefit. So it's one buildable lot equals one assessment.
I don't think it's not a buildable lot because of the pond.
I'm sorry?
I don't think it is a buildable lot because there's a pond on it that goes into the lake.
I don't know. When we created the district back in the fall, that would have been the time that should have been addressed. So we could have dealt with that.
Well, I was always told it's per household until we got this letter in the mail. The last letter stating
It's-
per parcel, so.
It's never been per household. It's per buildable lot.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to address the board, please?
My name's April Zychek, and I did not attend the last meeting. I'm one of the newer residents on Lake Valley Drive. I was not made aware of this situation until after I bought my house last May, that it was even going to happen. And when Marianne went door to door, she specifically said it was per household. I was concerned because I am friends with them. They helped me find the house. We did discuss this, and I know it wasn't in this meeting, but I wasn't the only person that was told the same thing. And in the letter, the last letter that we got from Marianne, it said per residence. And I believe my neighbor might have one of those letters with him, and it wasn't by lot number. And my second question, besides that, was what happens to the property in the front where everybody uses that access to get to our private area for all the people in the community? We all live on Lake Valley Drive. The common area, everybody on Fenton Road, Butcher, anybody who's part of our subdivision utilizes that. So what happened, why isn't anybody else involved in any of the assessment part other than the actual addresses on our street?
Only the properties fronting the improvement are paying.
But why aren't other people, why isn't it, if it's the community accessing that whole area regularly?
There's one lot that the whole community shares.
Right, I understand.
But who pays for that?
Part. Right.
Who's paying for that, is what I'm,
It's not being assessed.
so the rest of us are actually, it's not part of
In
it?
effect, yes.
Okay. I did have another question, but I don't remember it now.
I'm sorry?
I did have another question, but I don't remember it right now. I'll get back to it.
Anyone else want to address the board tonight? One more time. Anybody else?
I better ask. I'm sitting here. Terry Flotting, and I live on Lake Valley Drive. And I would like to know what we're being assessed for, if you could look at that, one property.
Yes, your 30-foot lot's not buildable, so that one's not assessed.
Okay. And have you had other meetings about the road, besides the last one where you discussed what the assessment was? You know, the
last
road
meeting we
construction
had-
or anything?
The last meeting we had would have been the public hearing in the fall.
Okay, and this is the second meeting?
This is the hearing on the roll, yes.
How are we gonna be, any kind of communication from who's doing this road as to, like, we have a sprinkler out in front? Is there gonna be communication as to who's moving the mailboxes and how we're gonna get back and forth down the road?
My understanding is the contractor is going to have people going door to door, talking to residents, explaining what they're doing in each specific area.
Okay,
They did indicate that if they do have to move any mailboxes, you know, they'll talk to the residents. There's a number of brick mailboxes. They will avoid moving those at all costs because that's a lot more work. So they said they will not be moving any of those. Some of the ones on posts they may have to move, but each area is going to have its own unique issues as far as the construction. And my understanding is they're going to communicate individually with residents.
okay, good.
Anybody else?
The interest rate starts accumulating.
September 15th.
Excuse me?
September 15th. That's the proposed closing date on the bonds.
Is there gonna be a vote on this, or is it already a done deal?
Well, the special assessment district was created back in the fall. That, in effect, put the project in motion. So there's other than confirming the role and issuing the bonds, there's really nothing left to decide. I mean, if the project needed to be stopped, it would have been done before the district was created. Because if the project's not going forward, you don't create the district.
And I'll bring up the point that Terry brought up again, sprinkler heads that are always right along the curb.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Yes, to bring up the point again about the sprinkler heads that are located right on the curb. Those are obviously very vulnerable, and I see those being an issue for sure. What would be the action going forward if those are damaged?
It's my understanding that they do not repair sprinklers if they're in the right of way. So if you want to dig them up yourself and pull out the expensive parts and be ready to put them back, or there may be areas they don't have to disturb it. Hopefully that'll be part of the individual communication when they get to each property.
Thank you.
I hope I don't have to get up again, but is there a end date? Do they have a completion date?
October 28th is in their contract to be completed no later than that date.
Hi, my name is Bernie, and I live on Lake Valley. How long is this supposed to take?
Construction?
Yes.
As she just asked, the contract calls for completion by October 28th.
October 28th of this year?
Yes. Or before, if they're done sooner.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'll close the public comment board discussion.
Sam, what are the issues here tonight? I'm a little concerned about folks that were told it's per dwelling versus per buildable lot.
Appears to be a miscommunication amongst the residents. I've certainly never told anybody that it's per house. It's when we do special assessments, if it's a buildable lot, it's assessed.
That's the way we do it.
That's the way we always do it that way.
But this is the thing, when she addressed us all first, she specifically said this is different than the first time I went about everything. The first time she tried to do it, I don't know if this was 2 years ago or whatever, she did it per parcel. She said you guys went back through, you did it per home, per household. So certain people wouldn't get, there's other people in there with 2 lots, people with a lot and a half, that don't have any idea that this is going on. Because this is the thing, how can you have a vote and get 53% and have it pass on false information that we were told? We should get another vote. I mean, how is that really fair if we were lied to?
Tom, is there specific language, I guess I should address you, is there specific language that the petitioner or the person that would take this up?
Hold on just a second. Go ahead, Vince.
Is there specific language, they say that the information disseminated to them is different than what, we would think. So is there specific language that's required in a petition that they would go around and get signatures on that would say it's by lot or by parcel? I guess, I mean...
Of course, there would be. Of course, there would have to be specific language.
So do we have that on file, Tom?
That's what you would need, but I've not seen it, I have not read it, so I don't know.
Do we have the petition on file, Tom, that you
Yes,
could read?
I'm just looking at the
So
language
my
right now.
question is, if we're 2 lots, do we count as 2 votes?
Well, it isn't a matter of votes, it's a matter of frontage on the petition. So yes, the
Well, we
front,
have a whole lot of frontage on, right?
yes.
It says per parcel.
I mean, the petition,
People that live there, she never talked to, so how do you know if it was a yes or a no?
Oh, one at a time, please.
She said the frontage didn't matter, based on household.
as far as assessment, as far as how we assess, it's not based on frontage. As far as the petition sufficiency gaining over 50%, that has to be based on frontage by statute. And so the petition contained a space for each property in the district. And so if somebody owned 2 and they signed, then they probably signed both. I'm just going through right now. But the language in the petition that was signed says that we, the petitioners, understand the improvement shall be conducted in accordance with the plans foreseen to be prepared by the Genesee County Road Commission and approved by the Fenton Township Board, and that the cost thereof, including expenses connected with legal and financing costs, shall be assessed on a pro rata basis against each parcel of land within the special assessment district. And they'll be divided into 15 annual installments and placed on the property tax bill for each parcel as determined by the Township Board.
So, how do we know who voted, where our vote is? Because we've asked on several occasions.
Could you come up here, please? Thank you.
I'm just curious, how do we know how we voted? Because I would like to see where my vote went. I never signed anything. Neighbors never signed anything. I feel like if she didn't come back to my house because I was hesitant to make a decision, we didn't have a say. Like, I didn't sign anything. Who else signed it? Everybody signed something? Did we? How do we know what we voted for at our home frontage?
53% of your associate is associate.
Right, but some of us didn't even get to vote, is what I'm saying.
That
Or
would be counted
my
towards the
home.
47 that didn't.
You don't get a vote, just people who want it.
So yes or no? So if I didn't sign it, then.
Hey, talk to me, please.
Okay. So I'm asking the people who signed it and the people who didn't, where's the 53%? Like, how do we know that that's
Where's the list?
Yeah, where's the list?
I can provide a copy of that.
So we can see where the 53% is, because a lot of on our side of the street weren't in agreement with it. So I'm trying to figure out where the 53% came in at.
Well, understand, I mean, if it's 53%, there could be 47% of people against it. You know, that's the way the math works.
But that's what we're asking,
So
to see the information.
If you didn't, well, no, it's here. I mean,
Okay.
long before it ever gets to this point, we've already looked at them, we already did the math on it
Okay,
here
and
at the township.
I was just under the impression just a second ago that the new residents that have purchased in the subdivision have all been notified of this?
They were notified of this hearing, yes.
Okay.
Something tells me there's somebody else that wants to comment. Would you please come up, please?
Yes, I came to the very first meeting.
Can I have your name, please?
Bernie Newman.
Thank you.
And my name was on the list saying that I approved it. And I told Mary Ann specifically that I said no. You know, I pointed out numerous reasons why I thought it was a bad idea. But when they put that list up there, I see my name up there as, you know, approved. And I asked Mary Ann if she could give me a list, and she said yes. And then I could never contact her again.
No,
So
I do not.
if my name's on that list as approved,
No.
it's fraudulent.
It's not. You're not. I do not show that you signed the petition.
Bernie Newman?
That's correct. Bernard E. Newman
Yeah.
Jr.
All right.
Anyone else?
We're on board
Okay,
comment.
we're still at board comment.
I guess what I'd
I'm
like
just
to say,
trying to make sure everybody
I guess what I'd
gets
like to
heard.
say to the residents that are here, this is not about the township board. This is something that you petitioned to do. We're here to do a job, and that's just to prove it, to set up a bond and authorize it. This is, I mean, you can't look to us about the votes. Well, this is just, you have to understand this is something that your subdivision decided to do. We have nothing to do with that. We're here to do a job. That's it.
We're the fiscal agent,
That's all
basically,
we are.
of the funds.
We don't manipulate, you know, votes, do anything. We just take what came from your subdivision and turn it into what the majority, or at least more than 51% wanted, so.
I understand that, but, I mean, do you believe yourself that that's a little unfair for your home, it's per home, not per parcel?
Well, I would agree with that, but the problem is, there are people not named you that constitute a majority of 53%. So nobody can argue that you've been misled because you are a no vote with respect to that. There's 53% excluding you. So, I mean, that's you could have been marching with signs and holding protests down in the subdivision. All we're trying to do is what the majority in the subdivision wants to do. Most times, there's a fairly clear majority. And in fact, we've had some discussions because we've had some petitions where we were it was a question about whether it was 50% in number versus 50% in frontage.
Square footage.
So we try and take the more conservative route and make sure that there's more than 50% of all of that. So that's before we do anything, because, you know, you're the folks that have to drive on the roads. You're the folks that have to pay for the roads if you're going to do something because you don't like the way the drive is, you know, and we're basically serving an administrative function. We're not trying to tell you whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, but the time to come in, I mean, once we've got more than 50%, that's your neighbors, enough of them, if you believe in majority rule, and that's just kind of the way things run. There's no higher standard set by statute. It's more than half. So, you know, it's unusual to have this many people in disagreement. It's not unheard of, I guess, but it is unusual. But you lost the vote, is what it boils down to.
And it seems to me that the ones that are against it are the ones that didn't sign, so therefore you already counted as a no vote. Because the ones that signed, as Tom said, and he read the language, it did say by parcel. So the language that's on the petition is correct. So the people that signed it, that means 53% of the people read the proper language and signed it.
Yes, sir, if you'd like to come back up.
Yes, just one more question. I have to admit that I wasn't at the meeting here where apparently the names who approved it, there was a list on the wall this gentleman had mentioned. I was not here. I'd like to verify that my name is not on that list. It was never made public to us. We received a letter that, you know, it had passed, and that was it. So I just want to verify that my name's not on the list. Because I did not make a no vote. I just, as you said, I didn't make a yes vote. I just want to make sure I'm not on there as a yes vote, that's all.
What's your lot number, do you know?
That I don't know. I give you my last
Okay.
name, first name.
What was your last name, Nance?
Nance, N-A-N-C-E.
Right here, Tom.
What's the number? 64?
64.
There it is. No, I do not show that you signed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we move on, board members, any more questions or comments?
I guess I would want to make sure everyone here that's opposed to this, is there anybody else that wants to make sure they're not on the yes list? We do have the information available. Tom can give you copies of the approvals that were signed, so you can see who did sign it. But we're sitting here now, is there anybody else? I mean, I can understand why you want to know. If I got outvoted 53 to 47, I'd want to know too, so.
I just think it's because we've been asking for it, so certain neighbors have asked her to supply that information to us, and it hasn't happened, that's all.
Tom is the answer man.
You guys didn't do it, it's just we were asking her since we were dealing with her.
Yeah.
She was the one knocking on our doors all the time, that's why we were going back to her, not coming to here to say, what was this information? And I feel like part of the information that, because I didn't go to the meeting, and I should have gone to that, I wanted to know that part of it, but even when she was at our door-to-door, I feel like it was a little bit misleading of what she spoke with versus what you guys are saying was on the petition, that's all. I didn't read it.
Do you remember signing or not signing?
I didn't sign, I know.
No, she didn't.
Okay. We're just gonna check to
No,
make
Tom already gave affirmation.
Well, you behave rationally, and I mean, it's not a process everybody inherently understands, so I get what you were doing. But we do have all the information here, and we check it before we get to this point. So, you know, we're satisfied that there's more than half that asked for this. Now, turns out, you know, there were a bunch of people here saying, no, I didn't sign, and they're on our list, and we have a different issue here. But, you know, the way the math is working, it's not out of the range of reasonable possibilities that 10 people are standing up and saying, nah, I don't want any part of this, and it's still been approved by more than half.
Can you check my last name, Meisner?
I'm sorry?
Can you check my last
Meisner?
name, Meisner? M-E-I-S-S-N-E-R.
They're on 56 and 57.
56, 57.
No, I show that you did not sign.
Anybody else?
You check Stanton, S-T-A-N-T-O-N. I don't know my lot number, but it's Wade and Stephanie.
051.
Nope, did not sign.
Yes, sir.
Was there a total of 100 lots?
No, there's not 100. It's, oh, the total number of parcels is, that we're assessing is 61.
You said by frontage though, right? Not parcel.
Well, he asked how many parcels there were.
Right, but the vote is by frontage.
The vote is by frontage. The total frontage in the district is 7,255 lineal feet. And if you add up the frontage of all the property owners that signed the petition, is 3,865, which is 53.27%. So that's how we determine that the petition is sufficient, but that is not the method of assessment. I think everybody got that.
At what date is the assessment executed?
Well, it's approved when we confirm the roll. The first principal installment and interest from September 15th to December 1st would appear on the December 1st tax bill this coming December. So using the example we had before, if it's 4%, I made a couple of changes here. I gotta go back and fix that. You're looking at $978.48 if it's 4% for the first payment, because it's only a couple months worth of interest. Then the first full year, $13.27, then it's $12.93, $12.59, $12.50, $25. So the principal stays the same each year, and the interest goes down as the principal goes down. If we get a better interest rate than 3, then the interest will be lower than 4.
What if you didn't want to pay the interest, you just wanted to pay the
It can be paid off in full with 0 interest up until September 15th. And anytime after...
And the work won't be done.
Pardon?
And the work won't even be done.
No, it won't be done until October. But it can be paid off at any time with interest up to that date. Anytime, whether it's 2 months from now, 2 years from now. That option is always out there if someone wants to avoid the interest cost and pay it off.
And you will see that happening, because houses will sell during this 15-year period. So as they sell, they typically, not always, but typically will be paid off.
That's what I tried to say.
Yeah.
And the other question, I know for a fact that people wanted to not sign it. They signed the petition, but they wanted to take it back. Is that by law, you can't do that? I mean, at the last meeting, before you voted on it?
I don't believe there's, well, I did not receive any such communication.
It was written on there that you couldn't change your mind. And I know a neighbor that she's elderly, and she just signed it through the car window like it was nothing. And I know someone was at that meeting.
The 2 lawyers down here don't know.
And that's unfortunate, but generally with special assessment districts, once you sign that, you've signed it.
Just good to know. Here's my question.
You know, the sad thing I look at when I'm out here, and again, I'm going to make this very short, but you know, it's a sad thing because you know, I look at it as, you know what, everybody should have got more involved, and it's like everything else. If you sit at home, you can't complain about the next president that takes office. I mean, you have to get out and you got to get involved and you got to vote. And the majority of the people voted. So, and it sounds to me the ones that are here are the ones that didn't vote.
Any other comments from board members? Okay, Tom, would you read resolution 2016-10, please?
Yep, except I just forgot, I just lost my, give me a second here.
Can we paraphrase? Get further.
Okay, this one I'll read, the one later.
Yeah, the next one will be a shorty.
Paraphrase that.
Okay, resolution number 2016-10, whereas the Township Board of the Charter Township of Fenton, Genesee County, Michigan, after due and legal notice, has conducted a public hearing upon a proposed assessment roll prepared by the supervisor and assessing officer of the township for the purpose of defraying the costs of the road improvement project proposed to be initiated within the Lake Valley Road Improvement Special Assessment District as shown on the plans and specifications for such project. And whereas such public hearing is preceded by a proper notice in a newspaper of general circulation in the township and by first-class mail notice to each property owner of record within said district and upon said assessment roll. And whereas all present at said public hearing were given the opportunity to be heard in the matter, and whereas no written objections were received to the said roll and levy, and whereas a record of those present to protest and of those and a written protest submitted at or before the public hearing, if any, was made part of the minutes of the hearing, and whereas the Township Board has duly inspected the proposed assessment roll and considered all comments and proposed amendments thereto, and has found the proposed assessment roll as submitted to be correct, just, and reasonable, now therefore be it resolved that the assessment roll submitted by the supervisor and assessing officer of the township shall hereby be designated as Fenton Township Special Assessment Roll number 2016-1 and shall hereby be confirmed as the assessment roll for the Lake Valley Road Improvement Special Assessment District. And be it further resolved that a special assessment made on the special assessment roll for the Lake Valley Road Improvement Special Assessment District or any installment of a special assessment may be paid in full without interest before September 15th, 2016. Be it further resolved that all amounts not so paid before September 15th, 2016 shall be payable in 15 equal annual installments of principal that shall be due on or before February 28th in each of the years 2017 through 2031. Be it further resolved that the portion of any assessment not paid before September 15th, 2016 shall bear interest until paid from September 15th, 2016 at a rate which is 1% above the average rate of the interest borne by bonds to be sold at the township by the township in anticipation of the collection of the special assessments. Interest shall be due annually on February 28th. Be it further resolved that future due installments of an assessment against any parcel of land may be paid to the Fenton Township Treasurer at any time in full with interest accrued through the month in which the final installment is paid in accordance with Michigan Public Act 188 of 1954 as amended. If any installment of a special assessment is not paid when due, then the installment shall be considered to be delinquent. There shall be collected, in addition to interest as provided by this section, a penalty at the rate of 1% for each month or fraction of a month that the installment remains unpaid before being reported to the Township Board for reassessment upon the Township tax roll, also in accordance with said Act 188. Be it further resolved, the assessments made in said special assessment roll are hereby ordered and directed to be collected by the Township Treasurer. The Township Clerk shall deliver said assessment roll, special assessment roll to said Treasurer with his warrant attached, commanding the Treasurer to collect such assessments in accordance with the direction of the Township Board in said PA 188 of 1954. And be it finally resolved that all resolutions and parts of resolutions, insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution, being the same, are hereby rescinded.
Need a motion?
I'll move the resolution.
Support? Roll call, please.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
Yes.
Kessler.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Krug.
Yes.
Mathis is absent. Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next is the primary election report. Short and sweet, we had a very low turnout. It's what Tom predicted, but still, 16% on important issues is questionable. Everything did run smooth. There was a couple of hiccups, and but nothing that slowed. I think the average voter may have spent 10, 15 minutes from start to finish.
It was super efficient, super quick.
We even used a shuttle to help those that wished because of the distance from the parking area to the front door of the school. And other than that,
The results came out late on the county site. Was there an issue getting them down there, or did they just have trouble?
I don't know, we took our issues, the one thing that has slowed the process, and what I mean by that is once the polls are closed, we total, then we have to get them to the county, but they added on the step of what is called a receiving board that goes in on each precinct, opens up all the sealed envelopes, reviews all the numbers, statements, pertinent material, and then reseals the sealed envelopes they just unsealed. And at that point, I take them either to the county or basically a transfer site. I take ours to Mundy Township, where employees of the county clerk are there. Then they open them up, review the information, and at that point they have the card with all the information on it. It goes. So it seems like it's added about an hour. Not sure if that's the appropriate way, but that's the way the state.
Yeah, I think it was maybe 1:30 in the morning before our stuff got posted up.
Really?
Oh no, we were there.
We were done at 10:30?
Yeah, we were done at 10:30.
It didn't get posted up. I don't know if it got stuck in.
They may have had issues.
There were some areas that had trouble in the computing of the absentee voters. There were a couple of them, I won't say because I'm not sure the areas, but two of them somehow counted them twice, and they had to go back and redo everything, and that may have been what made it 1 o'clock, but ours were in and finalized by 10:30.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the receiving board that Bob talked about, what had happened, there was a lot of recounts couldn't be done because procedures weren't followed right and precincts weren't recountable because they hadn't done everything right. So they put in the requirement, the state put in the requirement for a receiving board to verify a certain checklist of things that would increase the likelihood that in the case of a recount, that precinct could actually be recounted legally. And that has slowed things down, but it's forced the issue on making sure it's right.
They do that here locally before it ever
Yes.
leaves the...
Actually, the receiving board for us is myself and my top help desk person who's a certified inspector but is not working a precinct. And we go through, it's the county clerk envelope we have to open back up, verify everything in the poll book, make sure the seals are right, recorded. It's a whole page of things we check off for each precinct, reseal it back up, and then Bob takes it on his way. So,
Mr. Broker gives the state a lot more credit than do paid political announcement. Anything else? Any communications from any of the board committees? Okay, moving right along, we are at the second reading on the rezoning of parcel 0603 200-014. Any comments or questions? If not, I need a motion to amend the zoning ordinance number 594 to rezone parcel 0603 200-014 from R3 to M2 with conditions as presented.
I thought we were gonna wait till we looked at the master plan again. I thought that's where we were. I thought that's where we left it. If not, we can vote on it, but I know where I stand on it.
Anybody else?
He's been
I know we talked about it,
He's been
John.
operating that way, you know, and it's not like we're gonna say there's anything wrong. I would like to take a look at that Thompson Road corridor. I know it's just a little portion of it, it's all for Thompson Road, and I know it's not that big a deal, but it would make me feel a lot better if it was included in the whole plan.
I'm not opposed to postponing it, because it's been that way for forever. Yeah, and I did pull the corridor study and brought it with me just to kind of, it's hard to even verify that the parcel is in it. It's
right there.
It wraps farther north, you know, where the big box things were that I'm looking at alternative SP31A, which was the, you know, approved denomination of the overlay. And, you know, the things that are colored and highlighted don't really include that spot. They stop pretty much at the bowling alley. But it doesn't mean it's not in the area either, so I can't really tell. I just kind of assumed, I didn't, you know, without knowing with certainty that it's in the Thompson Road corridor.
Does it fit everybody's desire? We have a workshop planned for the 22nd. Do you want to try to slide this in?
We can just talk about it. Because we need to take a look at it more in light of what, you know, Miller is doing up along
Yeah.
there, and how that impacts it more so than this piece in my mind, but, you know, Sean's right, if we're being pure about it, we shouldn't be doing it.
Well, then why don't we postpone it
Because my vote's
at the
gonna be no
workshop and get,
until we, unless we
Right,
have a
let's
workshop.
just
Simple
slay
as
it
that.
for a
let's
workshop.
postpone it.
Yeah.
It gives everybody the opportunity to get their questions answered before or at the workshop. And then we can put it back on the agenda,
There's nothing,
September.
nothing's gonna change for them anyway, so I say
You're right, it's not something that
we
I
need to
need you
visit
to
the
do
master
right
plan.
now to put the fire out or something, okay?
And just so we're clear, the applicant has already submitted a special use permit request to the planning commission that would otherwise be up this Thursday. So that will have to get pushed, obviously, but when it came out and I was aware of it, I sent an email around to the planning commissioners just advising them there's been some discussion of the matter at the board level and it may not happen. It may, in fact, make it moot, which turns out to be somewhat prophetic.
Okay, everybody satisfied with that? Good. Moving right along, the next is the rezoning of parcel 0604 200-017 on Thompson Road. Steve Steffi has the property.
It's the one where he's selling it to the neighbor. There's
Yeah.
easement on it that nobody knows what the restrictions or duties are for the easement, so he's just selling it to them to get rid of it. It's consistent with the master plan in the sense it's medium density residential. So this
I'll move the
particular one
motion.
was the easy one. I'll second it.
Okay, roll call, Tom?
Mathis is absent. Kessler?
Yes.
Krug?
Yes.
Gopal?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Shoemaker?
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance is adopted.
Okay, thank you. The next is a rezoning R16-05 at several parcels on Hogan Road. This is the second reading, and it's the request to move it from R3 to R1. And this was introduced in July. Is there any questions or comments?
Just,
This is
this is the chickens, but it's not about the
This is
chickens.
the R1?
This is from R3 to R1. And it's 4 chickens, but not
I
about
remember
chickens. Mr. Kraus,
Not
I
about
want you to know, I have some pictures of your chickens. I did swing by and take a look, so I've been out there. For whatever it's worth, my observation, clearly north of this property is very ag-oriented. There's farms. It's pretty rural. A little bit east of it, you got Stony Brook. So somebody put that's north and east. This very specific area is probably a little more densely packed than the areas around it. The house of the neighbors is really quite close to Mr. Kraus. There's, in that area, there's a half a dozen houses. They're not small lots, but it's not as agrarian as some of the other areas along Hogan Road. I took a look, not that it mattered, because the real issue with me is it consistent with the master plan? Okay, and I told you what I thought it said this time. I brought the language this time because I thought everybody ought to know what it says, because you can argue this. I mean, you can really argue whether it is or isn't. So here's the language. It's not real long. I'm going to give it to you.
You must be a lawyer.
The future land use map does not include an area designated as ag rural. However, the zoning ordinance has ag and rural zoning districts, and it identifies them as ag and R1. The intent of these zoning districts is to permit the continuation of farm operations and to allow farm animals in these areas, as well as provide for larger 5 to 10 acre parcels. And as I told you last time when we were going through this, the idea was we will allow what's happening to continue, but it'll be eventually winnowed out down to medium density residential, and that's why it's not the master, the future land use plan. But the language, the intent of the districts, and that means the ag and the R1 districts, is to permit the continuation of farm operations and to allow farm animals in these areas. So the applicant wants to downzone, but he wants to downzone to something that we are trying to allow to work its way out of the zoning map. That's really the gist of it. I mean, so when I say it's not about chickens, it really isn't about chickens, even though it's 100% about chickens.
Well,
So-
but you're so right. Regardless of what we do, let's say we approve it, in order to do what the applicant desires, do they not have to come to the planning commission?
They do.
It asks for a special use permit?
Right.
And at that time, restrictions can or
Yeah, and I
may
don't-
be placed on the operations?
Either way you vote here, I don't think the world is going to end one way or the other. You know, it goes back to the whole concept of planning is exactly what we're talking about. Let's look 10 years ago and say what we want done so that when these applications come in, we can say it's either consistent or it isn't consistent. This isn't consistent with it. Is it way out of character to rezone this and put a special use permit on it so there can be chickens? Nope, not way out of character. There are houses that are closer. This is a more densely packed argument, but the analysis always for zoning is consistent with the master plan for it. And this just isn't. It wouldn't be unreasonable to say that this could be future land use for ag, or would be unreasonable to say we can have chickens in some of the other districts. None of that's unreasonable, which is what made it hard. This is the one we really struggle with at the planning commission. Even though we have a unanimous recommendation of denial, we struggle with it because it's a difficult issue. But you can see you have neighbors that are, you got strong proponents of it, you got strong, whatever the opposite of a proponent is.
Well, when we had the public hearing, I got the impression that had a deer hunter not been kicked off a section of land, regardless of who owned it, we never would have heard about the chickens. So I look at it, let's change it. We have a vehicle to control all of the special use, and we're not restricting a resident from doing anything he may have not been doing for the last 14 years.
Or 20 years.
Or 20 years.
Well, I'm trying to be nice.
At the same time, we're on public comment, right?
No, there isn't.
No,
Public
there is
comment.
There is
public
no
comment.
public.
Yeah, Bob, I agree with you, and again, this is not about chickens to me, but I think that when a township, a government, when you set forth a master plan, it's like a business plan. You either adhere to it or you don't adhere to it. And I understand that we can make changes to it, and I am certainly not against the chickens. He's been doing it, like I said. But I am really against, if we want to take a look at the master plan and make changes to the master plan, that's I'm okay with. But to sit here and make a change parcel by parcel by parcel, because this board, if this board was a different board, they could make a different decision. The master plan is there for a reason. And it's there to give us directive to what we're supposed to do. And that's stay within it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
When, as John had said earlier, I'm still gonna get my eggs at VG's. So it doesn't.
I'd rather go over and buy his eggs.
I would too, but
And that's what the reason. The reason the master plan is important is because if you don't have it, you fall into I think it's a good idea, I think it's a bad idea. Okay, and that's not really the way zoning works. At least it shouldn't be if you're doing it right.
Correct.
And you can get into these circumstances because I think there's a fair number of us that think, maybe we shouldn't have eliminated ag and R1 from the future land use plan. That's a fair comment. Much like the Thompson Road Corridor study. We might need to work that around.
well, as much work as the Thompson Road, I was involved in that very heavily when it started. We had meetings, lots of community investment and time. And if you look at the trend now versus 20 years ago, it was buy your lot in your subdivision and build your house there. Now people are trying to buy a home with 5 acres, 10 acres. They're stretching back to do some of the rural, be it growing their own tomatoes, or as one resident said, they are not chickens, they are portable fertilizer units. And
Protein dispensers?
yeah, protein dispensers. But it's not really whatever the animal is where does it go? And I agree with Vince, maybe we should look, because the trend has changed so much over the last 20 years of what people want in their area.
There's different.
It's just like a business plan. I mean, you can have a business model and a business plan. Apple had one when Steve Jobs was alive, but it's probably morphed twice since his passing. But again, you set a path, and if we want to change the path, if we want to change the master plan, let's change the master plan. Let's not just pick pieces out of it.
At the risk of being jeered at, you don't want
Well,
to
when
put
you-
the chicken before the egg.
There you go.
I knew you were going to say that. I mean, there is a reason in the business plan why there are no 2016 Corvairs.
True story.
So, anything else? Okay, I need a motion to adopt the amendment to the zoning ordinance number 954 to rezone parcels 0619, 100, 034, 0619, 100, 021 from R3 to R1 as presented. Support. Roll call, Tom.
Gopel.
Yes.
Tucker.
No.
Lorraine.
No.
Mathis is absent. Krug.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
No.
Kessler.
Yes.
Is that 3-3?
That's a
That
failed
we ended
vote.
up with? 3-3. Vote fails?
Vote fails for lack of support.
Well, it's a failed motion.
Yeah.
There's no-
Okay.
And for what it's worth, with the discussion that we've had, we're having a workshop. I think you heard that on some other issues. It could come up, this could change the future land use plan. So what is done today is done today, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's done forever, because Bob's right. I mean, there's a lot more ag use going on. There's stuff going down. There's a gentleman on Jennings and Ralston. Couldn't figure out what he's doing. He was off killing his yard off with killer. This was back in the fall. He had a big circle out in the middle, and he had a strip along the perimeter. I couldn't figure out, what is this guy doing? He's out here killing the yard off. Well, if you drive by there today, it's full of vegetables.
His entire yard's a garden.
Well, no, he's got grass in there, but he's got a perimeter that's about 4 foot wide around the perimeter, and he's got a big round area right in the middle.
He's growing
And
his
it's
tomatoes.
all vegetables. No chickens, but, you know.
That we know of.
That we know of.
Well, you know this probably dealing, being an attorney that deals with land, but I mean, if you look at sales nowadays, especially in and around this area, people are buying bigger lots, and they do want to have places that they can farm and raise chickens and that sort of stuff. So that's why I think and I apologize, but this is going to force this board to go back and take a look at the master plan, and I think it'll end up being a good thing. I really do. May not today.
My hearing is not so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, though you may not like the decision of the board today, I think it is going to force us as working for you to go back and take a look at the master plan and maybe change the master plan so it will be more conducive to what you want to do. So don't look at what happened today as the end. I guess that's what I'm
We
trying
write
to
in
say.
sandstone, not in granite.
So you're going back at it on this workshop on the 22nd?
I don't know if we're going to get to it at that one, but it's a.
We're gonna have to have, I think I think Thompson Road alone by itself is a separate workshop,
Right.
then the master plan altogether it's a pretty complex issue what we're talking about.
There's going to be a lot of things going, because there's contrary to a lot of what we're saying too. So I don't want you to think we're leaving you out of this discussion too, because you bought with certain assumptions as well. So
Keep in mind too, the houses and the people that weren't there when I was there, they shouldn't even be counted in this case. They came after me, and now harassing me, doing what I've been doing for 20 years. Thank you.
Okay, next item under unfinished business is the reminder of the workshop following the meeting on August 22nd. There's several items on there. If you've got any, give them. If we don't get to them, then we'll do another one. New business authorization on the issuance of bonds for Lake Valley Road Special Assessment District. Mr. Broker, please.
Okay, in order to finance the project for which the assessment roll is confirmed this evening, we need to adopt a bond authorizing resolution. This one's a little too long to read the whole thing, so if you don't mind waiving that. This is not one I prepared. This was prepared by bond counsel, Steve Mann of Miller Canfield. And the amount is $775,000, but that amount might be reduced if people pay off between now and the date that they actually put the bond out for sale. If people come in and pay off, $40,000 gets paid off, $40,000 will come off the bond amount. So they can't issue bonds any higher than unpaid assessments at the time of sale.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt resolution 2016-11.
So moved.
Support. Roll call, Tom?
Kessler.
Yes.
Krug.
Yes.
Shoemaker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Mathis is absent. Tucker.
Yes.
Gopel.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Thank you. The last action item is out of the assessing office. It's a letter of resignation of Dawn Collins. I don't know how many of you have had the opportunity to meet Dawn. She's been a part-time employee in there, doing a wonderful job, but on her own personal reasons, she has given us a letter of resignation that would be effective September 1st, 2016. Any other comments, Tom?
No, Dawn did a real good job for us. She had retired after several years working in Mundy Township. She thought she wanted to have a part-time job for retirement, but this was a little more than she wanted apparently. So certainly no hard feelings. She's well liked by the staff. She really liked working here. It just wasn't the right fit for her. That's why she's staying until September. I know Julia and Jenny have a conference to attend so she can cover the department. And we've already put out ads looking for her replacement.
Okay, any other? I need a roll call motion to accept with regret the resignation of Dawn Collins effective September 1st, 2016.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Gopel?
Yes.
Kessler?
Yes.
Shoemaker?
Yes.
Mathis is absent. Krug?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, last board comment. Any?
Some nights tonight, I feel like I've just made people angry tonight, you know? It's just, some nights are just
I
like
think we
that.
succeeded.
It's just,
And it's-
nobody went away happy tonight. I don't
feel good about it either.
Tough.
Well,
Hard
and
job.
the horrible thing is, several of us tried to say, you asked us to do this. It wasn't something, well, okay, let's do this tonight. So,
Yeah.
but it goes with a roll.
That's a true story.
This is the time for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Any comment? Would you please come up?
While she's walking, I think this will be the first night we haven't had Dave Hawcroft.
I was just gonna say, where's Dave?
Or
Getting cold out.
or
That's a little early.
Hi, I'm Teresa. I live on Hogan Road. My first question is, thank you again for the resolution. It was not about a hunter. It really was about chickens. And they are on my property, the roosters crow nonstop. So that really was where we were coming from. But now that his resolution has failed, we did call code enforcement. How long does it take before the chickens need to be removed?
I don't know, Tom Hosey, how far has he worked it, do we know, Tom?
I do not know.
Yeah, check with Tom Hosey in the morning.
Okay.
He'll probably give an idea. Everybody wants him to enforce their issues, so he,
I understand he's a very busy man.
Please keep in mind that our ordinance are based on a complaint. So as you were just told, contact Mr. Hosey. He will more than likely ask you to fill out a formal complaint. Then the procedure.
I've already done that. I did that. That's what started this whole process. So I just contact him again and reference the complaint. Okay. The second one, and I'm sorry if this is not the right avenue for this. I don't attend very many of these hearings. I was listening about all the road assessments. Hogan Road is a dirt road, much to my chagrin. I love my home. I love my property. Not really excited about the road. To get it's a county road paved, how was the process to even start that? And I'm not even sure, if it's something that I want to even go down that road.
Well, the Hogan Road is a different type of road than Lake Valley, South Lake Valley, and Lake Valley Court. They're residential streets, whereas Hogan is considered a local road. So typically, improvements to local roads are paid for by the township, subject to whatever budgetary constraints we have. With unpaved roads, that usually consists of adding gravel or limestone and maintaining through grading and chloride. To pave previously unpaved road, you're talking, I think, $465,000 a mile. We had an estimate from the Road Commission a couple of years ago to pave, I want to say to Laring, it was $3.2 million.
The treasurer can tell you we don't have that in the
Okay, yeah. So what you're saying is don't get my hopes up?
Yeah.
Okay. But that was the gist of my question is, I didn't even know basically how to even find out about what can be done or couldn't be done.
Short of
A miracle?
somebody coming up with the money, our annual road improvement budget is usually $100,000 to $150,000. So, and that's not the type of road that typically does a special assessment because it's too rural. You'd be paying $50,000, $60,000 a lot, and that wouldn't meet the statutory test of benefit equaling cost. When you do a special assessment, the benefit received is supposed to correlate to the cost that you pay, and that type of situation would not meet that. So it's kind of a catch-22, and all of our unpaved roads are kind of in the same situation. There isn't money available to just pave them.
The area of Hogan where I'm at where we're at, I know he keeps saying it's rural. We butt up to Linden city limits. It's south of Ralston, north of Silver Lake. The water treatment plant is on that road. The sportsman club is on that road. There is a subdivision that's on that road. There's quite a few houses on there, so I don't think it's the lack of actual houses that's doing it. I just wasn't sure why that was never, because we do get quite a bit of traffic and it tears up the road, and that's why I'm asking. It's constantly a mess.
It is, among the unpaved roads, it is one of the more heavily traveled. That is true. I think and I think the treatment plant, some of the traffic is because of the location of the treatment plant as well. But we've talked about it before. We actually had an estimate where we thought we could pave up past the bridge. We had a way where we thought we would work, but it was a lower cost way to do it. And the road commission said, well, if you're going to pave the road, you got to move it back into the center of the right of way because it's not centered, and that threw the cost up to the $3 million, and all of a sudden it's no longer feasible. So I don't really have a good answer for that as far as trying to pave it.
I appreciate it. It's a question just because I've heard the discussion and I've always wondered and didn't know. I thank you for your time.
Well, if you want to come up with 3.2, we'll let you spread it over 15 years.
Sure, yeah.
4%
Yeah,
interest,
not one
it'll
in
be,
particular. But yeah, if I had that kind of money, yeah, I would take care of it. I'm sorry, I do not, sir. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? If not, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:45.
We've hurt your average here tonight.
Oh, you screwed it up, Pat.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it was you, Tucker.
Yeah, it was all you, Tucker.
you.